Welcome to Shooting Straight with Brad and David. I'm Brad Carlyon, your Navajo County attorney, and my partner is
David Clouse, your Navajo County Sheriff.
The guest for this month's Shooting Straight is the Navajo County Victim Services Director, Roxanne Padilla. And Roxanne's going to talk to us about this year's Victim Rights Symposium. Thanks for joining us, Roxanne.
Thank you for having me.
And how many years has the Navajo County Attorney's Office and Victim Services been putting on the Victim Rights Symposium?
This is our 9th year.
Wow.
Yes.
What's the theme for this year's symposium?
So every year we tailor the theme based off of the National Victims' Rights Week theme, and that theme is honoring the past, creating hope for the future. And with that theme in mind, we wanted to honor the seniors in our community, and we wanted to actually specialize our symposium towards elder abuse.
So what type of topics are going to be discussed at the symposium about elder abuse?
So one of the leading crimes that we see regularly here in this area is elder abuse and consumer fraud. And so we are bringing in the Attorney General's office. They actually have like an area of agency department that is going to be coming in and doing a specialized training on consumer fraud and elder abuse. That's one of the many topics. We have 4 workshops altogether and then 1 keynote presenter. Some of the other programs that we are going to be presenting on are like our local responders. The area of agency department through NACOG and Adult Protective Services has a joint program that they help that they utilize to service victims of elder abuse. So they'll be talking about that and some of the challenges that they face whenever they're dealing and working, responding with elders.
When you say elder abuse, what are you really talking about?
Well, I'm talking about a large crime syndicate. So it's a crime that impacts seniors ages 55 of age and older.
So you're making me a senior now.
You would fall into this category.
Oh, okay.
And specifically, there's generational issues and the challenges that they face more so than we see in other types of crimes. And in the White Mountain area, we have a large senior population, so I just felt like this type of topic would be relevant. It's in line with the theme, and I thought it was something that people would enjoy to hear about.
So it's not just physical abuse, but it's other type of abuse, including the financial then?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. So who's the keynote speaker you're bringing in on this topic?
So we're very excited about our keynote presenter this year. His name is Paul Greenwood. He's been a prosecutor for San Diego County for 22 years. He's prosecuted over 750 elder abuse cases in San Diego County. And he's very passionate about what he does. He's a national presenter. The way that we got to know him is one of my advocates had seen him at the National NOVA conference.
NOVA is?
The National Organization for Victims of Crime, I believe is the acronym. But they're a national organization that helps crime victims, and they put on trainings every year. And he was a presenter there, and since I have told people about him, I've heard several great recommendations. So we're very excited to have his experience there. And he's really going to be talking very generally about the overview of elder abuse, the dynamics of it, why elders might be targeted for certain types of crime, the different types of crime that occur towards elders, like domestic violence, neglect, financial crimes, things like that. But it'll be a very overall, broad picture of.
As the head of the Victim Services Department in Navajo County, do you see many victims come through your department that are elders who have been victimized?
I do and I don't. I would say that is one of the reasons why we had chosen this particular topic is given that we have such a high senior population in this area, I think that elder abuse is happening more than is being reported for lots of different reasons. And most of the time when I'm working with somebody who might be a victim of elder abuse, they're not recognizing themselves as a victim of elder abuse. And it's clear to me that they might be endangered, they might be neglected. You know, they're left alone maybe all day long in their beds without any care or support. Maybe some of their family members have eaten all of their food and they're left with nothing. There's no heat in the dead of cold of winter and they have to start their own fire. And those types of things, you know, they're just like, they can be like children or child abuse, but where you have to really take care of them and they're being neglected in a lot of ways. So
and sometimes they're afraid to report because they're afraid that they'll lose that family member taking care of them and they'll have nobody left.
Yes, and they love them and care about their family.
I'm glad you brought up a lot of those points. As the investigating agency, being the sheriff's office, when you hear the term elder abuse, some people may think physical abuse, but you brought in a lot of the things of neglect, whether they're just not given the time, and the financial crimes too. Excuse me, they take everything. We've investigated a lot of cases within the sheriff's office where we spent several months looking at people starting businesses with elder, they move in, establish that trust. Then they take them for every dollar they have in some sort of complicated scheme of businesses, selling homes. And then we've seen the cases where they neglect them and they just have this frail body at the time of death. And it's just been a pattern for several months. And I don't think we're immune to that here in Navajo County. And I think a lot of the cases, like you pointed out, a lot of the cases go unreported because they don't want to give up. They don't want to, this is family. Sometimes they have dementia and they don't understand what they're actually going through. And it's really sad to see. But we have some that we do see, and we have some that we don't, and we really encourage all those that if they suspect any of that abuse to come in and contact their local law enforcement agency. So what type of the symposium, who's invited? I mean, is this something that is open to the public where they can come and learn or take these workshops?
Yes, absolutely. Anybody, a member of the public, if you are a victim service agency that provides services to any types of victims, there's lots of valuable information you can get at the symposium. We have a small minimal $10 fee, and that's really only to help pay for a catered luncheon ceremony that we offer everybody. That is actually catered by Celebrations, a local business in Snowflake. And beyond that, we have people from corrections officers, social service providers, counselors, we have schools, we have the youth that come, we have victim service providers, attorneys, sometimes defense attorneys, guardian ad litems, law enforcement officers, probation officers. I don't know if I mentioned them already, but.
So since we're talking about elder abuse this year as your theme, have you reached out to like the senior centers, the assisted living homes and places and people like that?
Yes, we have. I'm actually on some email distribution lists for Compass, Hospice, I think that's how you say it. And they're going to be hosting a meeting sometime in March, and I'm going to be presenting our symposium at that particular meeting. And we've went and put up flyers at our local senior homes and did email blasts and have posted it on social media. Anybody who wants more information can visit the County Attorney's Office webpage. The County Attorney's Office has a symposium-only web section under the victim, I think it's Community Services, Victim Services section. And there's also a lot of information on Eventbrite. That's where you would sign up to attend the symposium.
You talked about there's breakout sessions to get more specific type of information. I think you said the FBI was making a presentation?
Yes, the FBI will be doing a special presentation on elder abuse in tribal lands. And we're very excited about that. We have had some recent cases that have hit our office where elder abuse on elder or seniors on tribal land were specifically targeted, probably through some type of local business fraud scheme, and that was something that was super important for us to have an education and conversation about with our public.
And the Navajo Nation Human Rights Commission got very involved, at least in one of those cases.
Yes, they did. They were very helpful.
What are the other 3 breakout sessions?
So altogether, we have 4. And one of our other breakout workshop sessions is going to be a local victim resource panel, where actually I will be presenting, the Family Advocacy Center will be presenting, we'll have White Mountain Legal Aid who will be presenting, and a couple of our local shelters and NACASA. So it's mainly some of the big local victim resources in the Navajo County area, and they're there just to educate the public on the services that they can provide and ways that they can help assist seniors. Making sure that we're providing lots of local content is also something that's very valuable and important to me. Making sure that we understand how to coordinate our services and really offer and educate ourselves on how to respond to these types of crimes is really a goal for the symposium.
Sounds like a worthwhile one.
Yes.
You have 2 other ones left. What are
Yes.
the other breakouts?
So NACOG and Adult Protective Services.
What is NACOG?
Oh gosh, you're gonna put me on the spot. I don't know the acronym. You probably.
Northern Arizona Council on Government.
Good for you. Okay, yes, you know it better than I do. I know the acronym, but I don't know the whole thing. But they have an area agency on aging. And they have an ombudsman program with Adult Protective Services in which they're going to be talking about that program and the way that they respond to elder abuse all across the state. I mean, the presenters coming in from Yavapai County on that particular workshop, but particularly the things that they see or the aspects they see, because I mean, we're such a large state geographically, and Navajo County is very different than cases that you would see in Maricopa County. We have a lot of rural challenges that people would not ever think to consider, ways that you can abuse other elders or even any victims of crime just geographically, you know, having limited access to resources. So coordinating services and networking is super important, and the ways and the challenges that they face, I guess, is important for us to be aware of so we can see what ways we can help fill those gaps when we're helping these people. Because, I mean, they will be 2 of the primary service providers here in this area to help elders. So,
Yeah, and I'm glad you kind of mentioned these organizations that are additional resources, because a lot of times when the deputy or a police officer gets called, it'll be from neighbors, people that kind of are close to the victim, and a lot of times people feel that it's, oh, the victim doesn't have family, and that's why there's this abuse, because a neighbor or somebody close by will come in and start taking advantage. But it's not always the case, because it is family and it is those without family. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's those that are so busy that they forget about mom and dad or grandpa and grandma. And there's these resources that you talked about, NACASA, NACOG, Adult Protective Services. Mm-hmm. And those are things that and that's why you'll see deputies and detectives at these symposium, because they learn about these resources, and knowing that, hey, if we don't have a crime here, but we just have a situation where
So you have a problem.
but we have a problem, exactly. We have a situation where we just can't let it go. We have to get other people involved, because this family is just not suited to take care of the elderly, and
Yeah.
then that we try to prevent that abuse, and I think these breakout sessions, or these part of your symposium is targeting that type of education of, let's not let this
continue to be a problem.
continue towards these abusive situations.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned law enforcement, because it did remind me something that's super important to mention about the symposium is it is accredited training. So it's AZ Post accredited, CLE and COJA accredited. So people who need those continued accreditation hours can come and get those local, almost at no cost. So I really encourage people to come.
And if people have other type of training they need to get, we can look into seeing if we can get that certified for that type of training too.
Yes.
Yeah, because most people don't know what CLE is. That's for the
Nope.
attorneys, COJET's for those who work in the court system. But there's other professions that need ongoing training, and we can try to qualify these sessions for them if they want that type of training.
Yeah.
Well, what's your 4th breakout session?
The 4th one is, the AG's Office on Consumer Fraud. And that was really, the AG's office, they have a specialized training on how the elders are being taken advantage of by businesses, local businesses, but not only that, but robocall scammers. I think things that we all experience in our day-to-day lives, but how the elderly population is really targeted and really is the victims of those types of particular financial fraud schemes, Ponzi schemes, things like that.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than when I see these elder, they've worked a lifetime and earned and earn so much money, and they've earned these pensions and retirements, and then they come in to say that they've fallen into a scammer across the country, across the world, and given away so much money in hopes of getting some big ticket item at the end, and that's never true.
No, and it's heartbreaking. It really is to watch people who've given their entire lives to, their families and, their community, their country and everything, and they're being taken advantage of for wrong reasons, and it's really heartbreaking.
One of the things that the Symposium has done every year is a poster and a video contest. Are they doing it again this year?
We are, but we changed it up a little bit. So we're trying to get up with the times. Kids are not 100% familiar anymore with what a PSA is, and that used to be...
And what is a PSA?
A public service announcement. I remember those.
Okay.
I remember the drug cracking one. This is your brain, this is your brain. That's a PSA. But we're starting to learn that if you are, between the ages of 13 and 17, you might not be familiar with what a PSA is. And so one of my advocates, Nicole Kester, came up with a really good idea, because the whole point of this contest is just really to gauge youth and raise awareness for a particular cause. The cause that, and we try to keep their focus, their workshop, on something that would be affecting youth at the time. So this year we're deciding we're specializing their training topic on human trafficking. But we decided also to ask them to present a viral video contest.
What is a viral video contest? This elderly person doesn't understand that.
So I guess the best example I can give you is the Ice Bucket Challenge.
Okay.
So they're tasked with creating a similar social media challenge. And then they send that to our office, and then we vote on the top 3. And then those we will try to send out through social media, through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, different things like that, to try to raise awareness for human trafficking as their particular cause. So
is that open to any teenager essentially in Navajo County?
The only requirement is the age between the ages of 13 and 17.
And where would they find out more information on how to participate?
They can contact myself at the county attorney's office, but really you can go to our Facebook page, our Symposium Facebook page, and our website. For information, we have our contest rules all located there. We have our entry form, our release forms, everything is located on our website.
And at the Symposium, they have a special track just for kids. Are they doing that again this year?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And can you tell us about the youth track of the Symposium?
Well, it will be tailored towards human trafficking. And so they'll be receiving, actually human trafficking is the #1 crime in the world. It's very prominent, and I've noticed recently that we have had a lot more presentations and a lot more, we've been noticing that crime happening more and more in all sorts of areas. And I don't think that it hasn't been happening, it's just not really been identified. And children and youth are a target for all types of different human trafficking type crimes. And so we're bringing in Trust, which is a national organization that does training throughout the country. And they try to raise awareness about human trafficking. And they'll be doing a workshop tailored specifically towards youth.
And then what youth are attending? How are they identified, or is it just open to anybody who wants to come?
A lot of the people who come, the adults that attend Symposium, like to bring their children. I get that request a lot. Also, we go and we do blasts to all the local schools, and we ask them to share the information. People who participate in the contest, we always encourage to come. That way they can be recognized if they were a winner at our luncheon ceremony. But anybody who's a youth, even in the surrounding areas up to Apache County, can participate and come to the Symposium. We're not limiting anybody from this type of information. So,
I have people, when they talk to me, say, well, we don't have human trafficking in Navajo County. We don't have this sex trade going on. Have either of you seen it through Victim Services or the Sheriff's Department?
Yeah, and I've heard that myself, and unfortunately we have investigated those cases. I think they may look at it and think, well, are we seeing the cases with hundreds to 50, 100, victims at a time? And we haven't had any of those cases come across the Sheriff's Office, but we do have that with the interstate. with these truck stops. We've seen, you know, we've personally, and I've been involved in some of those investigations dealing with that is going across interstate, the interstate up on the northern part of the county. We've seen that with young girls that get involved at a young age with drugs. They get addicted, and the only thing, and then their drug dealer uses them as a slave, or they sex traffic them for their drugs, and that stuff is happening, and it's sad. I've seen it at ages 15, 16, 17, and of course in adults as well. And it is happening in our communities, and we're taking an aggressive stand. And that's why we have these things like these symposiums to bring that this stuff can happen if we're not watching our children, if we're not looking at it, if we're not combating the abuse or the addiction to these drugs. They're falling victim to these types of behaviors. And it's sad to see.
I've even had some requests whenever adults learn about what the youth topic is, if they can attend that workshop, and we do allow adults to go to that training also. And that's a great question that you ask, because I think coming to this training would obviously share more light on that particular topic, because it is occurring. It's just we're not necessarily at the leading edge of being able to identify it. I know that. And there's a lot of challenges that law enforcement face, jurisdictional issues, for instance. A lot of the women, if they're even taken from here, they're not being trafficked locally, and vice versa. People being taken from other communities might be trafficked in this area. Some of the information I know about human trafficking comes from a couple advocates I work with the FBI, and they say that it's pretty prominent on reservation land. So.
Okay. I remember you and I were up in Window Rock not long ago, and there was a big push to get out information about how many young Navajo girls were disappearing off the reservation, and that was happening off the reservation too. It's just not talked about.
Yeah, because fortunately, it's not like I was talking earlier. Large cases. There's isolated single cases, 1, 2, 3, but one person. I mean, going through something like that, and
a family.
Yeah. And that victim is, and you're right, the Navajo Nation was saying, hey folks, we need to open our eyes, this stuff is happening. And that's what we've seen the county attorney's office and victim services pushing this for several years now, saying we do have these cases here in Navajo County.
And we got to make the youth aware of what's going on and what to look for to help protect themselves.
Yeah, well, some of the saddest cases that I've seen is where the victim doesn't want to, they're kind of, I don't want to say they don't want to be a victim, but they're not aiding because they don't feel they're a victim, or they're so addicted at that point that we're not talking to a clear or clean mind, and it's hard to get to button these cases up without that cooperation.
Or they're so afraid.
Yeah,
yes.
That's a big part of it too.
And it's hard to get the evidence that you need to get those convictions and
Absolutely.
at least put that one bad person away. So what else do you have going on with the symposium you want to share, Roxanne?
That is pretty much all that I had for the symposium. I mean, it's all day. It's in Snowflake at the NPC auditorium. So we kind of tried to hold it in a centralized location so a lot of people can come. We can offer some small scholarships to people who can't afford the $10 to come. We do that to some people who request it, so they can go ahead and contact me if they would like that fee particularly waived.
At the symposium, will you be promoting and trying to get volunteers for your volunteer victim advocate program?
Yes, I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I really am excited to share an opportunity that we can offer to the public, people who have a vested interest in helping crime victims. And it doesn't have to just be elders. We help crime victims of all types. People who are victims of theft, domestic violence, sexual assault, people who are victims of homicide. And if anybody has ever wanted to volunteer time to help with those efforts, we have established recently a volunteer program where people can apply for to become a volunteer and to actually help with advocacy with victims. They can go to court sometimes. We have some outreach opportunities. We have tons of opportunities for volunteers to help with assistance. So if people are looking for a great way to give back to the community, helping crime victims is one of them.
And I'll put a little plug in there for you. As a former detective, it is so helpful to have those victim advocates there, because you mentioned being afraid and those things. They need somebody there to be their advocate, and we really, really appreciate that. As the law enforcement side of it,
Yeah.
we need those people so we know our victim is being taken care of, so we can focus on moving the case forward.
Yes, thank you for that.
Well, Roxanne, we're out of time. Thank you very much for joining us. We
Thank
appreciate it. And thank you for all your work and effort in putting on the symposium. It's of great interest and value in the community. And thank you for joining us this month on Shooting Straight with Brad and David. And please stay tuned for this month's Most Wanted.
On March 6, 2019, the Navajo County Sheriff's Office deputies responded to a report of an armed robbery in the Winslow area. The victim was held at gunpoint and several items were stolen from inside his car. During the investigation, investigators learned that there were 5 subjects involved, and as of March 19, 3 of the 5 subjects have been captured. 2 subjects remain at large: Samuel Ward, 19 years old, of Winslow, and Simeon Powers Sandoval, 18 years old, of Flagstaff. If you know of the whereabouts of these 2 subjects or have any information concerning this violent crime, you are encouraged to call the Navajo County Sheriff's Office at 928-524-4050 or contact WeTip anonymously at 1-800-78-CRIME or at WeTip.com.